So the two videos that we're going to go over while you're on OELP, they're both review videos. This one should be really fast. We're only going over 3 examples because once we do it once or twice, you're just following the same steps every time. So no matter what type of numbers you have, just make sure you're writing down the steps and what we do and the thought process. And you can always refer back to this video if you're not sure how to multiply or divide fractions. All right, so this video, like I just said, is multiplying and dividing fractions. We're going to do 1 example of multiplying and 2 examples of dividing. We're on video 3G, and our learning objective and our goal is simply to know how to multiply and divide fractions. Right? The only reason why we're doing 1 multiplying fraction is, as you should know already, dividing fractions just turns into multiplying anyway. Right? So there's only 3 examples for this video, but for all 3 examples, I'm going to show you both ways that you can do it. But I'm always going to point out, just like I do in class, the one that I would highly suggest for you to do. Right, so the first example is 6/5 times 10/9. Right, so remember, the first way that you could do this is you could just take these 2 fractions and actually, because when we're multiplying our fractions, we don't need common denominators like some of the mistakes that you guys make, is we just multiply our numerator with our numerator and our denominator with our denominator. So we just simply multiply across. So you could do that right away where you're multiplying both numbers. And we would get 6 times 10 is equal to 60, and 9 times 5 is equal to 45. All right, you could jump straight into the multiplication. But when you do this, you're going to be left with larger numbers at the end, and it might be harder for you to simplify this. Maybe you don't know what goes into these numbers. So it might be a little bit harder because now we're dealing with larger numbers, which have more factors. I am going to give you guys a list when you guys return about what are some of the rules that we have to know if a number is divisible by 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. Right? So if I see that the number ends in a 0 or a 5, I know it's divisible by 5. So if I don't know the largest common factor right now, I can at least take out this 5. And 60 divided by 5 will give me 12, and 45 divided by 5 will give me 9. And hopefully by now you see 12 and 9. You should know that both of these are divisible by 3. So I can divide each of these by 3 to reduce it. And 12 divided by 3 is 4, and 9 divided by 3 is 3. So I know this gives me a final answer of 4/3. Right, now the other way I said that you can do this is rather than multiply first, and you don't have to do this next step, but some of you still seem unsure about this. So I'm just showing it to you like this so that way you can see that we can simplify from any numerator to any denominator. So when we multiply, first write them like you're going to multiply in your numerator and in your denominator. So instead of keeping these fractions separate, we can put them under 1 fraction. And now we can look and see, do I have any common factors between any of these numbers? Well, I should know that 6 and 9 share a common factor because they're both divisible by 3. I'm not going to write divided by 3 here because it's going to run out of space. But 9 divided by 3 will give me 3 left over, and 6 divided by 3 will give me 2. So I can reduce. Right? Then I can look and see, well, 5 and 10 share a common factor. They're both divisible by 5. Well, 5 divided by 5 is 1, and 10 divided by 5 is 2. And now that we reduced everything that we can go ahead and multiply. And I'm left with 2 times 2, which will give me 4, and 1 times 3, which will give me 3. So you see, no matter what method we choose, we get the same answer. I personally do think that this second method that we did, actually, let me not write over top of it, but this second method that we did is better than the first one because if you can simplify in the beginning, you're working with smaller numbers, which should be easier for you to simplify. And the good thing is if it can't simplify in the beginning, it's not going to simplify at the end. So there's going to be some problems where maybe you multiply these numbers together and you just assume that there's going to be common factors and you try to factor it out and to reduce, but you can't. So that's why it's good to do it in the beginning as well, because regardless if it can't factor or reduce in the beginning, it's not going to be able to reduce at the end. All right, so that's the only problem for multiplication we're going to go through. Now we're going to do 2 of them for division. All right, the reason why we're doing only 1 for multiplication is because when we do division, we need to rewrite it. Remember, we keep change to multiplication, and then we flip, we take its reciprocal. So remember, keep, change, flip. Yeah, that's the action. Everybody knows how we're dividing fractions. So we keep the first one exactly as is. We change the multiplication, and then we flip. We take the reciprocal of the second one. You say you love me, but now you flip them like reciprocals. So reciprocals, we simply just take Whatever we had in our numerator now becomes our denominator, and whatever was in our denominator becomes our numerator. All right? So now we're looking at this problem as 4 over 9 times 15 over 8. So all division problems come back to multiplication anyway. And the first way that we can do this is we can just go ahead and multiply our numerators and multiply our denominators. So 4 times 15 is going to give me 60. And 9 times 8 is going to give me 72. Right? If you know what the largest common factor is, you can go to it right away. I'm just going to show you what steps you can take if you're not sure. So I know that 60 and 72 are both divisible by 2 because they both end in an even number. So I know that this is going to reduce to 30 over 36. Right? And now from here, hopefully you can tell that 6 does divide evenly into both 30 and 36. So I will divide both by 6. But if you couldn't tell, you could have always just kept dividing by 2 until you got to where you couldn't reduce anymore. And 30 divided by 6 is 5, and 36 divided by 6 is 6. So this answer is 5 over 6. All right, I'm not going to keep, change, flip for the second method. I'm just going to start from here. And remember, we can rewrite these as instead of actually multiplying them, we can just go ahead and rewrite them as they're going to be multiplied, but in our numerator and in our denominator. And then we can look and see, do we have any common factors? Well, 4 and 8 share a common factor. That's 4. So 4 divided by 4 is 1. 8 divided by 4 is 2. And 9 and 5 share a common factor. That is 3. So 3 goes into 9 3 times, and 3 goes into 15 5 times. And now we just multiply with what's left. So we have 1 times 5, which is going to give me 5, and 3 times 2, which is going to give me 6. No matter which way you do it, you get the same answer. So I'm not going to say you have to do one way or another, but I will always say that this way, in my opinion, is the best way for you to get used to. So it's why you should be practicing it, practicing it, practicing it. Try this every time because you're not going to get better at the easier, quicker method until you do it over and over again. All right, so I would highly suggest, because it will be helpful for you when you get into a higher level math where the numbers are just really large and could be difficult for you to work with. All right, there's one more example, then this video is over. All right, same thing. We keep, because this is division, so 4 over 15 divided by 12 over 25. We keep change to multiplication, flip. So this is then going to be rewritten as 4 over 15 because we keep the first one. We change to multiplication, and we take its reciprocal. So keep, change, flip. Yeah, that's the action. Everybody knows how we're dividing fractions. And we flip. Now you say you love me, but now you're flipping like reciprocals. All right, so now we can go ahead and we can multiply across just like we did before. So we can do 4 over 15 times 25 over 12. And then 4 times 25 is going to give me 100. And 15 times 12 is going to give me 180. All right, this one should be easy as well for you to divide, at least straight away. Because you should see that they both end in 0. So I know that both of these are divisible by 10. So I'm just going to get rid of that one first. All right, so now when I divide it by 10, I'm going to be left with 10 over 18. And both of these are divisible by 2. Let me change the color so it's not the same. So both of these are divisible by 2. And then from there, I will get 5 over 9 is my answer. All right, so now, once again, we're going to just start from here. So we can rewrite it under the same fraction. So 4 times 25 over 15 times 12. And then we can start reducing. Well, 15 and 25, I know 5 goes into both of them. 5 goes into 15 3 times, and 5 goes into 25 5 times. And 4 and 12, 4 goes into both of those. 4 goes into 12 3 times, and 4 goes into 4 once. And now I just multiply. Well, 1 times 5 gives me 5. And 3 times 3 gives me 9. No matter what, same answer. All right? It doesn't matter which method you choose, but I will always suggest that this is the one that you do, and that's the one that you're going to see me always do, at least in the board, because we need to practice it. All right? That is it for this video.